Welcome back to Sebring Circuit here in Central Florida. It's a slight breeze, but absolutely glorious conditions here, especially compared to the rest of the United States at the moment. And our hearts go out to wherever you are if you're stuck in this terrible winter storm we've been suffering throughout the States. But here in Florida, as is often so the case, it's absolutely fine. As we turn our attention now to Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B. Now, that's quite a mouthful. Why don't you just sum it up?
Well, yeah, so Group 1 is the real small bore production cars like the MGs and the midgets and things like that. There we go. There's John Nash right there in his Lotus 7, so he'd be a Group 3 car. Those first couple cars that we saw, Travis Engen is a Group 5 Lotus 23B. Then we had Robert Bowden in that beautiful 69 Brabham. Then we had Rob Banks in the Group 5 Royale RP4. So it's just a good mix of cars, but basically the reason they're on track together, we usually don't like to put production cars and open wheel cars together, but their lap times are about the same. So it's for safety reasons.
Right.
But look at this number 2 Jaguar Airline Coupe. You see that? How it's got a low top like that? That's a beautiful E-Type of Stephen Davison, who's also a champion in Trans Am the last couple of years. And then right here, one of my favorite drivers, a person that's taught me so much. There it is, Stephen Davison. Great racer. You can see the steering wheel on the proper side, a British car. That is Vic Skirmance. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to ask Barbara, his wife, but a few years ago we celebrated 800 race starts for Vic Skirmance with a 356 Enterprises car. Always provides me with good in-car footage, but I think he's at about 850 now, race starts. That's unbelievable.
That is pretty impressive, isn't it?
The 007A of Robert Allred in the 1964 Lotus Super 7. That would be a Group 3 car. So a great mix of cars out here. They're lining up right now in the pre-grid. You'll notice that there's some flags from different countries down there because we've got 2 Scots in this race. Andy McLean and Rob Banks are out there. We should have a Canadian flag for the Frasers. And then in the number 40, 356 is the founder of SVRA, Ford Haycock. Formerly Haycock Classic. Ford is now retired and is out here having a ball. But you'll see there we've got the UK flag.
Now, those flags have been beautifully put up. But what happened to the Canadian flag?
The Canadian flag, and this is the craziest part, has been stolen twice this weekend. But I guarantee you it was not stolen by a Canadian because there was no note that said sorry. You know, Canadians are always known for being so polite. So I figured if a Canadian stole the flag, there'd be like a sorry, buddy, but I had to take your flag or an apology. Yeah. So it must have been somebody else that took the flag. But thanks for those shots, Tony. I love it. It's a lot of hard work putting those things up, so I like getting the shots. And I'd like to get a shot of our sponsors and marketing partners, too. But there's some great racers in here. But Ford Haycock, I'm going to have him up in the announcer's booth here as we roll out. They're pushing that 007. And then you see right there, the first row to the right starts with Andy McLean with his teammate, Scott Frazier. Good rivalry there with their mechanic, Mitch. He has set up a bunch of these cars. So Todd Cruz, Scott and Rick Frazier, and Andrew McLean have all the same engine configurations. Those 4 cars that are going out right now, they basically created their own spec class inside their own class. So they're going to be racing for overall in Group 1, but also all 4 of them have the same mechanic and exactly same prepared cars.
Well, I've been keeping an eye on some of our oldest cars, and I mentioned that Devon being 57, but you've got 3 58s and a couple of 59s, 1959 that is, the Austin Healey, the Bug-Eye Sprites that you were just talking about, the Austin Healey Sprite and the Sprite Mark 1, all from 1958 and 1959. And still going, I may add.
Still going. Look at this. I love this. This is my favorite group of cars. Right there, Travis Engen, one of my favorite drivers.
Every group's your favorite group of cars. You can't have them all.
You know, I'm an MG guy. Had many Coopers, Triumph TR4s, TR6s, MGs. I love the small bore British cars. One of my favorite people there, Ford Haycock. This field is just full, and look at this Bug-Eye Sprite. Look at the smile on these Bug-Eye, Frog-Eye Sprites right there. And that number 63 GT1 spec car. I love this.
Greg Newcomer in the Austin Healey Sprite there, that last car at the back there. We've got a stoppage here. Well, we saw them pushing this car a moment ago, and they're still having to crank it up again. So this is not what you want to see when you're just about to go out racing.
Yeah, and with a name like Robert Allred, you would think his car would be all red. But he is 007. We've got two 007s out there. This is the 007A of the Lotus Super 7. And then Rick Frazier, one of my favorite cars, the Booger is what I call it. He's in the 007 1972 MG Midget, the car that got away. I came very close to buying that car. And then I really like
a midget?
Yes, I can, kind of. I can sardine myself in there, but Rick, that car has been so reliable for Rick Frazier, so I'm so glad he's been out here racing. He and his son Scott did our Roebling Road racing school, got their licenses about 4 years ago, and now it is odd to not see them at one of our events. So thank you to the Fraziers. Scott Frazier is a new dad. His wife Jessica and their new baby of about 3 months old is here this weekend. So you would think that, you know, a new dad might have to lay off on the racing, but Jessica, I feel like the family likes it just as much. 3-month-old baby to the races. So thank you for being here. Love seeing you guys from Atlanta, Georgia, braving the weather and coming down.
Beautiful sight from high above as we get ready for our Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B entries. Beautiful sights and sounds of the Sebring circuit, so steeped in history. It began back in 1950 when Grand Prix racing back in England was just beginning at Silverstone. This particular race circuit was just developing, and of course in a couple of weeks' time, or just under a month, you'll have the famous 12 hours of Sebring here, and the sports car scene is as big as ever here. But it all started back in 1950. We came here in 66 for Trans Am, for the first Trans Am, and we've been coming here on and off ever since, and delighted that we start our season as we did last year here at the Sebring circuit. It seems somewhat appropriate.
It does. Robert Bowden, who was in the last race, didn't make, I think he went to the podium, so he didn't make his Group 2 Formula B Brabham. So hell's bells, that puts Rob Banks right there, right behind Travis Engen. Moves up a spot there. Rob Banks next to Travis Engen in that yellow Royale 1970 RP4 with Heritage Motorsports. A beautiful car there.
And Ben, I know you arrive almost as they load in, if not before. But so
yeah, I'm usually the first one here and the last to leave.
Talk about the work that they put in over the weekend.
The crew and the drivers.
Yeah,
it's very difficult, and my hat, all my respect goes to the crews, the drivers, the families of these. We see Ron Rigdon, our pace car driver, coming off with the lights off, because keeping a 50, 60-year-old car running, sometimes 70 years old, on the bumpiest track that we visit all year long after this long off season,
that's a challenge.
It's really tough to do. And now look for Travis Engen and Rob Banks to go at it.
Here they come into Sunset Bend here at Sebring. The pace car has left the track, and we are under race conditions, and we will accelerate away to begin this race. At the back is Greg Newcomer, and here they come down the main straight. The breeze coming from right to left, and away they go. This is their first feature race.
A little bit of a drag race.
Yeah.
Rob Banks ducks right behind Travis Engen, another Lotus 23B, but John Nash ducks right behind the 21 of Rob Banks.
Into 30 goes. And coming up now towards turn 3 for the first time, the first possible overtake, and everybody's jostling for position.
John Nash takes the inside. Rob Banks did a great job looking in his mirrors, giving him the corner. He's going to let his tires come to him and try to take John Nash another time. So that's a Brit versus Scott right there.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, they're both Brits, officially. Although the Scotsman would argue with that. Here we go, then. Planes taking off in the background.
Ooh.
Cars everywhere you look.
Outside to inside.
And up the inside comes the 21 of Rob Banks. And does he do it on the Super 7? Yes.
Ooh. And I tell you what, it's so good to see him out there racing. They've been having mechanical problems, and I've been seeing his crew members driving up and down the paddock trying to fix something. I didn't get a chance to ask him what it was, but we're paddock next to him, and they were running that thing. It shook me all night long.
Into turn 10, at the end of the Fangio straight they come. Starting to build a lead now, Egan. And the Lotus 23B pulling away.
Ooh, this is going to be a good race, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Trying to get my scoring up on my...
Turn 13, and under our camera position. Accelerating out, goes to 63A of Randall Green in the 23B. Down that back straight into the kink. And it's a very fast couple of turns, this. You only really see it from above, but this is a great angle to look at this corner because you just clip the apex, quite literally, but there's no slowing down through there.
No, especially in this class of cars right here. They're going flat out, just trying to not scrub off any speed. Look at Travis Engen just trying to keep his line right there. Travis Engen is one of our most skilled drivers right here, but John Nash has been a longtime champion in our Group 3, and now he's got a Group 3 and a Group 8 Lotus 7 prepared nearly the same. But then there's Randall Green right there in that Lotus 23B Group 5. So he'd be third place in Group 5.
Yeah, they do. They cross the line again. The gap between Engen, who did a 2:32, is some 4 seconds already on that first lap over Rob Banks. John Nash third, Randall Green in fourth place, Cliff Murray fifth, Steve Davison, the former GT champion, in sixth place. And that's a really good opening lap from Travis Engen. That was impressive. 4 seconds in total. Really, really good. Anthony Hess going through in 12th place. There's Stephen Davison.
That Aero Coupe of the Jaguars has some of the sexiest lines I've ever seen. And Stephen Davison, funny enough, in 2019, he was our GT champion in Trans Am. He did over 10,000 in his Aston Martin because he raced an International GT, SVRA Group 10, and Trans Am. 10,000 race miles in an Aston Martin. And now he's out here in this beautiful Aero Coupe E-Type.
Well, they're starting to settle it all down now. The group here, second, third, and fourth between Banks, Nash, and Green. Murray behind them.
Vic Skirmans. Watch for Vic Skirmans. He's got the brakes. I saw him looking in his mirrors, and there's Scott Frazier, followed by Rick Frazier. Andrew McLean must have come off somewhere.
Here's your bug eye race.
Yeah. That's father-son going in right now. So that is Kermit the Frog Eye Sprite, followed by Booger. That's what I call him. He's missing a taillight lens there. 007. Maybe that was a smoke machine coming out of the James Bond car right there.
You think?
Lost the lens and released some smoke.
Could be.
But we're missing Andy McLean, and I didn't see Todd Cruz. So Mitch, the mechanic, is going to be busy. Andrew McLean was leading Scott Frazier in Group 1, coming into the last bend at 17, but I didn't see him duck into the pits. And there's Scott Frazier, new dad. Congratulations. And look at the smile on Kermit, knowing that he's winning Group 1 right now.
Really is pretty calm. I bet it leads too, by the way. Some of these faster corners, it kind of just rolls, but rolls in a good way.
It does. And Scott's got a little more downforce than his dad, if you know what I mean.
Nicely put.
They're gonna not like. I'm not gonna be invited to dinner after that one.
Well, you're gonna get some dinner, probably thrown at you.
Yeah.
Engen increases his lead then, and he was 4 seconds, and as he comes into sunset, we've got a good battle for third.
Ooh,
Randall
smoke.
Green and John Nash.
Somebody's smoking. Oh, I think that's Steve Davison. Vic Skirmans gets out of the way. Steve Davison's gonna have to duck in. Rather unfortunate.
Yeah, he's parked it out the way.
I think I jinxed him. I talked about how reliable that Aston Martin was for 2019, and yeah, you can see the smoke coming out of the hood as our Group 1 leaders come into the entrance. And now look at that, Robert Bowden is out there in that Group 2 machine, so he's going to work his way through the field. And then you'll see in the distance there by that Learjet is Ford Haycock of Haycock Classic, newly retired. Congratulations, Ford, but look at that beautiful.
Now, go back to this story. Why an open wheeler in this class?
Well, because there was nowhere else safely to put them based on times. You know, he doesn't have any downforce in that car. So he and Duke Waldrop were put here, but sadly I didn't see Duke Waldrop start in his Group 2 Formula Ford. That's a Group 2 Formula B. And we don't want to say no to anybody for racing with us, so we just try to make it as safe as possible.
Well, Travis Engen has now taken his gap over Rob Banks to just over 5.6 seconds as we look at Bowden in that open wheel car. And as you say, that makes sense to put him in a group where he stays out of harm. Here's another look at the smoky car. Yeah, right there, coming down the Almond Straight. He knew it immediately, didn't he? And said, right, I think I'll park this, Stephen Davison.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. What a beautiful car.
Jaguar.
Vic Skurmans right there in that 356. It's odd to not see Vic Skurmans at a vintage race. He likes to do a lot of vintage racing. Now, you're going to see the tow trucks out there. Sebring is one of those tracks. I got to commend them. They do what's called hot pulls, where they will go out on track. The corner workers will furl a white flag saying slow vehicle, and you kind of drive around that like you would a yellow flag or a caution, as we've got now, nope, double yellow at the starter stand. So they're going to shut this thing down and go double yellow.
Okay. Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's never easy with a tow truck. You never know how long it's going to take. But it gives him a little bit more respite to actually get to the car as we look at Ford Haycock. Go back to that story about Ford Haycock. This is the original guy?
Yeah, he's going to come up here and talk to us. He started in the late 70s. His family were some of the founders of Sebring, Florida. He's Ford Haycock III. His son, Ford Haycock IV, is here racing with us from Nashville. Or he moved to Nashville for about 10 years. Now he's working for NASA. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that. Sorry, Ford. But he started SVRA. He also started Vintage Motorsport magazine. And he ran a classic car insurance company, Haycock Classic, out of Lakeland, Florida. But he was the founder and started SVRA, I believe, in 1978 and ran it to the mid-'80s.
And that's Haycock Insurance.
Yeah, that's Haycock Insurance, but we owe him everything. And it was funny, we were having dinner last night, and we were talking about the value of these cars when he started compared to today. And he's like, yeah, we had a lot to do with that. Because let's say a pontoon fender Ferrari Testarossa was an obsolete race car before vintage racing really came to be. And then everybody's like, well, that's one of the prettiest cars ever made, and now they're $30 million. But he's like, back when he started, there'd be guys that would pull those on open trailers with like a Buick station wagon, you know, and now they don't even get out of the museums. As we look at Vic Skurmans right here, as we're under double yellow because of a car off course there at probably about turn 5, as you see Ron Rigdon out there in our new Honda pace car.
Does he like it?
He does like it. Ron Rigdon is our truck driver and pace car driver, doing a fantastic job at both. I really want to commend the Sebring safety crew, Matt Muha and his team. They do a job of pulling the cars off safely. You'll see the little orange on the wall there. Those are safety zones, and we've told all of our drivers to pull there, and then we'll pull them off track so that we can go back to green as quickly as we can. As we see Greg Newcomer, I think he's a newcomer to the series. I haven't seen that car very much. So, Greg, we welcome you.
Yeah, and he's coming up the field, too. He's up to 13 now.
You know, I hate to say this as a British car fan, but a lot of these Group 1-3 races is also a war of attrition. You know, we've seen 2 cars, Todd Cruz and Andy McLean, pull off. So if you can finish the race sometimes, you can make yourself a podium spot. You might start 8th in your group, but we might have as many as 4 or 5 cars come off track because they're just old cars. It's the first race of the season, and a lot of these British cars, that's Todd Cruz's car. Todd came from Alabama. That's rather unfortunate. Beautiful car. He's had some electrical issues all weekend long, so we hope to see Todd Cruz in tomorrow's race as he gets passed by his teammates right there. Mitch has got his hands full. Looks like Mitch has 2 cars to fix tonight. Andrew McLean from Scotland, currently living in Boston. And Todd Cruz. Andrew McLean's another father-son. He's got a son that's in his early 20s that also races a Bug-Eye Sprite with us sometimes.
Well, as you can see, they're slowing them right down as they come through 10 and 11. And trying to pack the field right up together. And I think the danger is gone, and we will be racing again with just over 6 minutes to go. So it'll be just over a 5-minute sprint as we look at Andrew McLean. You just mentioned him. There he is in the pits. In the Bug-Eye, number 13. And I think that's pretty terminal by the looks of things.
It is. Black flag, the Sniffler. The Sniffler is our black flag person. That's Mitch right there looking a little bit disgusted. Mitch is mechanic, right at his right front tire looking in. Mitch loves to be mentioned, loves the spotlight. I always try to bring him up on the podium with us to talk because he absolutely hates it. He's always wanting to fight me anytime I bring him up right now. So I'm going to get all kinds of food thrown at me tonight, Jonathan. But I have to roast my buddies.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be done. So 5 minutes left. This is our second group of the day here, a full weekend of SVRA and Trans Am, and we welcome you to a brand new season of 2021. I know times have been tough, folks, but we're out here trying to put some entertainment on for you, and my hat's off to Tony Perella and to John Claggett of Trans Am for managing to put on this show here. And last year we came here and COVID didn't exist, and we roared into the 20s, quite literally, and it all came to a stunning halt, of course.
Lights off. We're going to probably have a 2-lap sprint here.
Yeah, by the looks of things. The lights are off, and we are about to get underway again.
007 got fired back up. 007A of Robert Allred, I should say, got fired back up, so he's out here. Going to be able to take a green flag after all. Unfortunately, it was after a full course yellow.
And the 007 of the Super 7.
The knuckle dragger, they call it, because he could hang his arms out and drag them on the ground. Beautiful cars. Those cars, you know, the old
here we go.
Lotus remove or add lightness to the cars is what they would say. And those are very light, nimble cars.
As you say, it's going to be a quick sprint race now with only 4 minutes to go as they come into Sunset Bend, and that's a beautiful MG. But it is, once again, the man of the moment, Travis Engen, leading the pack as they file down the front straight. In the green and yellow, it's the 63 of Randall Green. Can he take the lead? Yes! And he's done it. Randall Green leads now with just over 4 minutes to go. Going well. Rob Banks in third at the moment. Nash is fourth, but comes alongside him as they come into the kink at 2. He's got a chance of an overtake at 3, and I think the number 7 on the inside is going to do it. Yes!
Yeah.
Nicely done by John Nash to take third.
Good stuff. John Nash has the brakes, but I think Rob Banks has the power. So look for Rob Banks now in that yellow Royale to try to get him. Look, he's closing the gap. He's going to try to get him coming into turn 7, what we call the hairpin.
Well, he's going to try to block past him, as it were, or around the outside, because the silver Lotus has got the inside line, but he can't get through, and that's good racing by the 007. And this top 4, top 5 now that Bowden's up there as well.
I think, honestly, the little lockup from Randall Green kept Rob Banks from being able to dive bomb John Nash. As that's our race for Group 5, goes Travis Engen, Randall Green, Rob Banks, and then John Nash starts our Group 3. Look, they go side by side into 10. You don't want to go side by side into 10, as now Robert Bowden back there in kind of a naked feeling open wheel car is watching along thinking, oh, I don't want to get mixed up in that stuff.
No, he doesn't. So, Engen continues to lead. He lost the lead to Green, but he's got it back. Randall Green took the lead into the first corner. And as we look high and above as they head down towards the Ullman Straight again.
That's Cliff Murray in a Model D Devon Porsche, meaning that's a Porsche-powered Devon. We don't see too many of those. So Cliff Murray, thank you for bringing that car out. Beautiful car. And he is now currently in 5th place overall and in 2nd place in Group 3. Vic Skurmans is in 3rd in Group 3. Robert Bowden is leading Group 2 in that blue Formula B, passing Rob Banks there.
So normal service resumed at the front. Travis Engen coming into the final corner, the complex out. And it's going to be another lap as John Nash in the Super 7.
Last lap banner is out.
So this will be the last lap. Yeah, Engen had built up an 8-second lead before the restart. And Robert Bowden in the open wheel all blue, trying to hold off the 21 of Rob Banks. There's the Super 7 of John Nash. Cliff Murray behind him. And Cliff Murray, here he is. It's a pretty looking car too.
It really is. Look at how that's cornering. That's really taking the bumps very well. Great stuff. Devon D Porsche.
Cliff Murray in that Devon Model D.
Rob Banks has his hands full with John Nash right behind him. I'm sure John Nash's wife Lorna is watching. She comes to all the races with John, and I think she has more fun than John just watching. Great photographer. And she loves cheering on John, and she must if she's letting them race in 2 different classes with us.
Well, it's beautifully prepared, yellow and green, the classic colors of Lotus. In second place with Randall Green, who held the lead for a moment, but it looks as though he's going to have to settle for second place as the clock ticks down. This is the final lap here of our second race of the day, and it's the Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B.
Travis Engen is really tough to beat. He's one of those drivers that's very calculating. He let him take him on the inside. He gets back into a rhythm, lets the heat come to it. He's so experienced. He usually drives 4 different cars with us over the weekend. He'll be out here in an Audi R8 from the LMP days that those same cars here would have raced here in the 12 hours of Sebring just a few years ago. But now he's out there in a Lotus 23B, a momentum car. And he just always gets himself in a great rhythm, and it looks like everything goes right. He and the GMT crew made another great Lotus 23B, and he should take the checkered flag.
Here we go then, Travis Engen heading towards the checkered flag with time running out. This is the final lap. There is the second car leading this race. He's coming up on the Bug-Eye, who's behind, and that's just a bit of lap traffic, but it's the number 1 we're watching.
He always makes a good pass, and look at how friendly he is. He waves, says, hey, thanks for seeing me. Thanks for doing your job. I'm going to do my job and hold my line. And he's going to take another checkered flag. And
Travis Engen, who had the pole in the Lotus 23B, takes the win. Bowden almost took second, did he?
Oh, Randall Green barely took it. Yeah.
Randall Green just taking second. And good race between he and the open wheeler. But Bowden in the Brabham BT29 almost whipping taking second there right at the death knell. And across the line, Robert Bowden in third, though. Rob Banks fourth. John Nash in 5th place. Cliff Murray in 6th place. And Vic Skiramantz in 7th place. Rick Fraser 8th. Ford Haycock, the man with so much history, both on this event and to our own. So to Sebring and to, of course, SVRA and Trans Am in 9th position, and Anthony Hess rounding out the top 10. Great racing from our group coverage. This the first of their 2 feature races of the weekend, and a great way to start it. We did have a safety car when we had one of the Jaguars go off. So well done to Travis. There he is. Must have had a moment when he lost the lead at the restart, but he kept his own. So as the cars head back to Parc Fermé, they'll be met by Ben Sissel, and just confirmation of the results then of our Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B. Travis Engen with the win for the Lotus 23B, and likewise Randall Green in a similar car. In 2nd place, Robert Bowden, who started right at the back in the Brabham, but had qualified well in the B29, gets 3rd place over Rob Banks. John Nash in the thick of it the whole race in 5th. Cliff Murray in 6th. Vic Skiramantz in 7th place. Rick Fraser 8th. Ford Haycock in 9th position. And rounding out the top 10, it's Anthony Hess.